the future. I did it to 20 years from now. So now we're not in 2023, we're in 2043. And then it's like summer, so like today, but a little bit warmer. And actually the temperature in Lund raised 2 degrees from average in comparison to nowadays. And then you, after a really hard day of work, you're feeling super exhausted. The first thing that you think is like, okay, I'll go to the local shop close to my house, or just grab some fruits. And then you have in your mind strawberries, or grapes, and bananas. And then when you arrive at the shelf, there's no strawberries, no bananas, and no grapes. But they're not there, not because they're out of stock. Actually, they're not there because there was drought in Spain 2 months ago, and all the strawberries died. And the grapes are not there because there was some heavy rain in Italy, and all the grapes are dead. And there were some natural disasters happening in Ecuador, and all the bananas, all the banana trees, they died too. So this is actually something that is not happening now, but can happen in 20, 30, or 50 years due to the climate change. And this is something that we need to think about, how many food we import, and how we are dependent in other countries, in food-wise speaking. And due to this reflection and about climate change, how can we do differences due to our urban planning and attaching sustainability in our projects. I was researching about permaculture and urban farming and urban design. Actually, I will give a little bit brief about the context of my research, and then I will jump into the design proposal. So, due to the climate change, the temperatures are rising. Due to the use of oil, we're facing a lot of problems and natural disasters. And what is happening that because of agriculture, the soil is becoming degraded, and we are facing droughts and flooding, which affects directly the agriculture right now. And talking about agriculture, 26% of the greenhouse gases coming from the agriculture sector, and 50% of the habitable land is used for agriculture. And 10 tons of oil is what is necessary to feed 1 person per year, which is a lot. So looking at this data, we know that agriculture is not that sustainable as it looks. And talking about another sector that we're working here is the architecture and construction market. 36% of the CO2 in Europe comes from the construction market. 40% of the energy used in Europe is used for construction, and 30% of the waste that we generate in cities comes from construction waste and from demolitions and all of this stuff. And then thinking about solutions, I started researching about permaculture. Permaculture is the combination of the words permanent and agriculture. And actually is not only a way of designing, but it's a way of a conscious way of living, where we preserve and enhance the nature. And then they are based in 3 main principles: care for earth, where we understand where we are living, where we respect the nature around, and we try to use most of the resources that the nature gives us. And then care for people, where we create communities around the sustainability, and we try to engage people to be more committed with this way of living. And the fair share, where we took only the necessary amount of food, amount of resources that we need. So as a design principle, it's based in 12 different design principles. So the first one is observe and interact. The second one is catch and store energy. Obtain a yield, self-regulation and feedback, use and value, as I mentioned, these resources, and produce as less waste as possible. The seventh is design. Integrating rather than segregate. Use small and slow solutions. Diversity, so bring diversity of species and animals to the site. Use and value edges, and creatively use. And I'm a little bit deeper in the permaculture, entering the regenerative agriculture. And then I discovered a really nice book from Richard Perkins, a guy that bought a farm here in Sweden, and he's trying to regenerate and grow food This, especially in the winter, is quite challenging. And then regenerative agriculture is bringing nature back, bringing habitats back, and especially recovering soil. And due to all of this research and all of these things that I have been researching and trying to apply, my idea is to combine urban design and farming. And then I will show you a little bit of the site. The site actually is in Sweden, in Skåne and in Lund. I don't know if you heard about the city. So the Lund, for you to understand the context, so talk a little bit of the history of Gastelyckan, the site that we chose. Lund in 1955 was actually a small city with 30,000 inhabitants, and it was full of farming around. It is still full of farming, but there was way more. And my site is this one, it's Gastelyckan. Actually, it was only farmland at the time. And then in 1975, due to the industrialization of the whole Sweden, they decided to choose this site to be the industrial district of the city. And then they start to bring in industries, and now this is the scenario that we have. So here you can see there is full of industries around, on site, and around it, it's full of housing. This is another view. So here you can see some housing here, some houses together with some buildings, and here they are building another residential area. And actually, there's some barriers that they put on site that looks like they are trying to hide Gastelyckan from the public. So you can see there's full of trees around and all over the other quarters. So it looks like they try to isolate this area. And even this road here that connects Lund to Malmö, it's a little bit higher than Gastelyckan. And then here we can see that there's still farming on the southern area of Gastelyckan. Here is some of the buildings that are there, so there's a lot of pavilions, they're industrial. And here's another view so here you can see the new district that is coming up. And then the plan for 2040 is that Lund wants to create 40,000 new homes because they're expanding the city and they want to be a research hub, and so they need more homes. And then around Gastelyckan, they will create other residential areas and mixed use. And what is going to happen? Gastelyckan will be more an island due to this process. And then the challenges that we are facing in this project, I'll start with the site, so industrial use. We have contaminated soil because it's full of industries, and especially car services. So they work with gas and oil, so the soil is contaminated, definitely. The lack of life. So due to the uses, we have mainly industrial use. So after 5 p.m., it's super dark and it's full of these fences and barriers, so it's not inviting to be around. And talking a little bit more broad, one of the challenges that I faced in this project is how to fight the footprint of agriculture, so the degraded soil, the sustainability, and the imported food. And then I'll bring it to my vision. And RePlus is basically three main strategies: regenerate, reurban, and refarming. And to regenerate, what I'm planning is to regenerate the soil, to bring the permaculture concepts, to bring the nature back and try to restore a little bit of the history of the site. Reuse some of the existing buildings, putting indoor farming and greenhouses. And then to refarm, the idea is to use the agroforestry technology where we combine trees and farming and bringing water and sunlight. Sunlight and water means that we are bringing life and bringing diversity to the site. And then to glue everything together, we are creating residential areas, so creating a community around the farming. And to do that, I'm creating educational buildings around that will connect and try to create a new way of living around the education. Yeah, so this is the whole vision. And then to do that, I created a toolkit And the toolkit is based in 6 different systems. The first one is the food factory, that is this reuse of buildings. Instead of having industries, we're creating sort of an indoor food production. So we are using hydroponics, aquaponics, and then greenhouses to do that. Agroforestry, that will be this combination of trees and farming. That will be outside. The pollinator pathway, there will be this huge pathway that will connect the whole site. We will have the mandala, there will be the courtyard, that will glue together the residential areas and the education buildings. And the farm scraper. Farm scraper is a concept, instead of having a skyscraper full of offices or houses, actually we're creating buildings to grow food internally. And then, as I mentioned before, like Gastelyckan is in the border of Lund and is close to the rural and the urban. So I think it's the perfect example to connect both together, so the urban and the farming. Then I chose some of the buildings to keep and retransform them into farming. And then analyzing the topography, I could understand how can we bring the water down and create this lakes and life. And then I created this water pathway that will manage the rainwater. And this is the lowest point on site, so all the water will come to this point. And then around this water pathway, I'm creating sub-centers to create attractions to the site. So we're putting food markets, some artistic hubs, some mandalas, the mandala I'll explain later. And then this is the main connection, the main green connection. And the red one is the connection, the streets that will connect Lund to Gastelyckan. This is the pollinator pathway. So that's the way I'm thinking to connect all the sub-centers, of bringing pedestrian pathways and farming around this water pathway. Then the agroforestry will be a little bit more dense, close to to the main road. And then connecting the sub-centers, I'll create the quarters. And then through the quarters, in the main roads, I'll put some residential areas, some commercial areas in the ground floors. So we'll activate the ground floors through that. And then close to the pollinator, I will have like three typologies. The first one is the housing. There will be this area here. And then I will have, when we go close to the main roads, the buildings start to be a little bit higher. So the ones in the middle here will be 4-floor buildings, and the ones here will be 6-floor buildings maximum. And then to connect everything, I created food farming, food factories, some schools, and I'll show you a little bit later. And then internally, I created some courtyards where people can grow their own food, they can have some leisure time close to their places. So go to the design proposal. Here are the farm scrapers. So the idea of the farm scrapers is to enhance the food production on site and to be like a landmark on site and a landmark in Lund. And then here we will have like a food market, some food factories. And here are the residential areas, here and there. This is the master plan. And I'll jump into the detailed plan because it explains a little bit the relationship that I want to create. This is a school. This is a mandala. The mandala is like a way of producing through permaculture some food. And then the idea is to have this residential courtyard that will connect the schools and the residential area. So this will be where they will get educated to create this new way of living. And here we have a food market that is connected to this outdoor space. So the idea is to have we sell some food production that is grown on site. And then here is the section that shows exactly the housing typologies that I mentioned. So I'm keeping housing close to the farming because the houses will be lower. So we can enhance the entrance of sun and the farming area. And then slowly we go up until this main road is, and I have like this bigger buildings. And then this is the view from the main farm scraper that will be located. This view is from here to here. This view is from here to here, and then here you can see the farm scraper. So the view from there. And that's actually the idea, is to bring diversity of species and diversity of plants and people, bringing them together. This is the view from the pollinator, and then the education and the housing area. So how we nurture everything. And this is the view from the internal courtyard of the residential area. And then going to the phasing, analyzing the site, we can see here there's a lot of green spaces that are not used today. So we will start the first phasing with this area. So this building here, we're using it and transforming into a research hub. So the research hub will be the starting point for this, for the whole design. And then through that, they can research how to develop the rest of the site and the new technologies to be used on site. And then the second phase is to complete the whole pollinator pathway, put some educational systems around the areas, and starting to put some residential areas here and here, and put the food market and the food factories there. And then the third phase and the fourth phase are just like a consequence of, not a consequence, but the next phase for the residential areas. And then just to finalize, I calculated the amount of people that are living on site. So we have like 183 houses on site. We have 1,573 6 square meter apartments and 569 90 square meter apartments. In total, we have like 2,235 homes, and we have a total of 5,023 inhabitants on site. And taking all of the food production from all the toolkit that I created, the agroforestry, the greenhouses, the food factory, the mandala, the farm scrapers, and the facade farming, we have a production of 2,275,571 kilos per cycle. I know that the numbers are super big, and it's hard to remember. And then we have like 5,023 inhabitants, which means that we are producing 453 kilos per person per year. Which means that each people can eat a kilo and 240 grams per day. So it's way more than the necessary to survive. And then here I just calculated, based on my research, I saw different sources saying that the amount of food necessary for living is like 100 or 146. So I calculated based on all of these articles. So if it's only 100 kilos per person, we can feed 22,000 people on the site. And just to conclude, that's how I'm thinking to regenerate, refarming, and reurban Gastelyckan. And yeah, thank you very much.